Everybody, welcome to the stream. Your old pal Justin Robert Young joining you here in Austin, Texas. We have a lot going on here. I mean, do we? I don't know. I don't know if we have a lot going on. We certainly have we have a general election. I think we definitely have a general election. I watched half the Oscars. We can talk about half the Oscars. I do not know the first half of the Oscars, but I did see the second half of the Oscars. So, and I do have takes. Uh, and I saw John Cena walked out buck ass naked, which like that dude's gonna be bigger. He's gonna be huge. He's like, I don't know. I still feel like there's like a comedy franchise that John Cena will be able to dominate. Bigger than The Rock? I think the difference is that John Cena can do everything The Rock can do, and I would not be surprised if John Cena got an Oscar nomination at some point. Like, I don't know if The Rock could get an Oscar nomination. I think Wes Anderson could write a really, really good role for John Cena. I don't know if Wes Anderson could write a role for The Rock. That I think that's the biggest thing for me. Now, Batista is the best actor. If we're going to talk wrestler actors, Batista's the best of the bunch. But the problem with Batista is that, like, both in wrestling and outside of wrestling, the best part about Batista is that Batista's just a very interesting person. So he can be very raw and real, but he's never really that far from his central kind of like tuning fork pitch, right? Cena can be really, really mean. He can be really angry. He can be scary, but he can also be really funny to the point where it's like odd that he has that many muscles. Cena needs his hangover. I would not be surprised. I'm gonna say I would not be surprised if John Cena gets an Oscar nomination at some point, because also he's got like. All right, well, we'll do Oscar thoughts first, and then we'll get into we'll get into whatever politics stuff you guys want to talk about, because there's not a ton news wise right now. Um, we'll take a peek at the old polls, but all right. My Oscar thoughts. Number one, I really, really loved Oppenheimer. I was happy to see that Oppenheimer won everything that it won. I still haven't seen Poor Things or Killers of the Flower Moon. I assume that they're great. I love Emma Stone. I've always thought that she's so talented, and she's really, really funny too. I'm always biased toward funny people, especially funny women. It felt like the Oscars tend to lag credit by about 10 years historically. So like people that are like exploding out of the gate, you give them their flowers like 10 years after. And so this Oscars felt like a thank you for the tens. Because who got recognized? Robert Downey Jr. and Christopher Nolan, two people who put more butts in seats over the last decade than anybody, right? Like, it would be hard to say that Robert Downey Jr. and Christopher Nolan didn't, put more butts in seats through the tens. Yeah, Sydney Sweeney, 2034. Um, so that was good. But I gotta say, the thing that struck me the most was the performance of I'm Just Ken. Like, Jesus, Ryan Gosling. Like, the only person I know that actually gives a shit about the Oscars, and that's just because he watched so many movies, is Will Saddleberg, who's my you know, he is on World's Greatest Con, and extraordinarily talented guy. But I texted him as soon as it was over, and I'm like, is that the best performance in Oscars history? And I said that confidently because it's a low bar, because the Oscars are not historically known for being great live performance moments, right? That's the Grammys, that's the Tonys, that's where they do live performance. The Oscars, it's always, a little song, little dance, little seltzer down your pants. You have the big opening moments that happened when Billy Crystal was hosting, but probably the best performance of the best live performance of a song that wasn't just like a WTF moment, like 36 Mafia performing Whoop That Trick or something like that, was Blame Canada for the South Park movie, and that was Robin Williams. But even then, it was, number one, that song is a musical song, so you got to do kind of a Tony's performance on stage. And then Robin Williams is Robin Williams, so you just plug in a ringer, and now it's really good. But like precision is not normally something that comes along with it, and that I'm Just Ken performance, holy crap! Like that was on a rail. Every moment hit. It felt fun. It felt exciting. The fact that he kept, Gosling is just going over to America Ferrara and Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, and they're just like melting in front of him. Like, dude is a rock star. Ryan Gosling could be a rock star. He's certainly a good enough singer, and he's got, I mean, man's got so much he might turn into a spider in the third act. Like, I was blown away. I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really funny. The choreography was really funny. I was laughing out loud as he was breaking karate boards in the middle of it. The big slash moment, huge. The sing-alongs, just electric. So salute to Ryan Gosling and everybody who put that together. That was blow everybody out of the water. I don't know exactly how much time was allotted for the Oscars, but it felt like they were early. Like Jimmy Kimmel was filling because apparently Al Pacino was so drunk he couldn't even do what he was supposed to do for Best Picture. Drunk ass Al Pacino just walks out and like, should I do Shakespeare? Well, Best Picture. Let me take a look. Oppenheimer. I guess this is nominally a politics podcast stream. So Jimmy Kimmel read a mean truth from Donald Trump on stage. He had a one-liner, "Isn't it past your jail time?" A little, classic. Let's say classic. Let's say Bob Hopian and it's mechanics as a zinger, which is not a bad thing, right? That happens. Got a huge reaction, but at least it was a joke. Like, let me defend Jimmy Kimmel, and I don't defend Jimmy Kimmel a lot. I don't think he's particularly. I'll put it this way: I think Jimmy Kimmel is very funny. I don't like political Jimmy Kimmel. I think he is about as basic as anybody who has also just recently watched MSNBC. That being said, at the very least, he did a joke. He didn't say, like, go to jail, sir. You should drop out, sir. Sir. Do you think the choice of Jimmy Kimmel was proof that Hollywood is still up its own ass politically? I'm here to inform you, dear sir. Hollywood is still up its own ass politically. It will remain up its own ass forever. So the concept of that existing on a spectrum, Hollywood's relationship with politics is we're talking about it or we're talking about it slightly less. Pretty much it, right? That's how it is. That's how it always will be. If you expect something else, good luck with all that. Beyond that, I think Jimmy Kimmel is a good host for that show. I thought the production on the Oscars was phenomenal. I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really good at kind of capturing access to celebrities that is part of what makes that fun. Back before every celebrity had an Instagram and posted what their breakfast was every day, the Oscars and late night television were pretty much the only way that you saw famous people. And the production design of like having the presenters and the hosts that are talking to each other come through a hallway that was being filmed, and it was filmed nice. It wasn't just like cinema verite. I thought it was a great solution. But yeah, I didn't see the monologue. I didn't see the monologue. I didn't see the beginning of the show. I pretty much watched from like the sound design. So I saw John Mulaney's thing where he just recapped Field of Dreams, which I thought was great. Celebrities were better as a rare treat. Now we eat candy for breakfast and have diabetes. I don't agree with that. I think if anything, we have more. We have micro celebrities. We have broken in long ago to the Fort Knox of celebrity, and we have distributed it equally amongst the streets. And yeah, I think we are living in that world. Like it's very, very hard. There is a reason why it's the biggest celebrities in the world. It's harder and harder to mint new celebrities. It's hard to do that. Like Margot Robbie, I mean, almost everybody that is really, really big had to do superhero movies to get it. Now Justin thinks he's a micro celebrity. Um, it depends, how small are we going with micro? Are we going like subatomic? Yeah. I think that you could probably pick up my level of celebrity on an atomic microscope. I think so. You could probably do it. There are elements to the life of the Gerbs that are slightly different now than they were before I put stuff out on the internet. Yeah, it's pretty good. I gotta say, I think I pretty much got the best, the best of celebrity with like paying very very little of the price. Kimmel made fun of Downey's drug use in the monologue, and Downey wanted to punch him in the face. I did not see that. No. Hello. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. For folks who wanted the video version of PX3 Extra, I just got that up live now. All right. Y'all want to talk politics? Y'all want to talk some politics, huh? Let's look at some polls. Been a minute since we looked at some polls. There's some polls in this house. There's some polls in this house. All right, here. Let's just bring this whole son of a bitch up on that screen. Well, let's see. I mean, in general, you always want to look at the approval. And that's not a curve you want to see. This kind of widening yawn, but it hasn't. The best it was recently was in Jesus a year ago when he was only underwater by 7 points. That's all he was underwater by. And since then, it has gone from 7 points to right now, damn near 17 points. So he has gotten 10 points less popular than he was a year ago. Not great, Bob. Not great. But here's the biggest. Let's take a look here at the economy. Joe Biden is underwater by 17 on the economy. Let's take a look at immigration. Right now, those are the 1-2 issues. He is way underwater there, 35.4 on immigration. Let's look at inflation, which is also kind of the economy. He is more unpopular. People directly blame inflation on Joe Biden, or they don't believe that he has a solution for it. Let's look at something that he should be good on. Let's start with Ukraine, and then we will go to foreign policy. Oh, shit. I didn't even realize this. He's underwater on Ukraine. When's the last time he was consistently above board? Wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that he was underwater. He's 9 points underwater on Ukraine. Let's look at foreign policy. Because foreign policy, you got to also bake in what is happening in Israel. And just because we're here, let's look at crime. Yeah, he's underwater 20 points on crime. I mean, these are the issues that these are the issues that will decide the election. Let's go ahead, just for laughs, take a look at Donald Trump's approval. This is post January 6th. He's still in the 40s. Right after January 6th, he was at his lowest. I mean, in my opinion, I would still bet on Joe Biden. I think if you can get Joe Biden as an underdog right now, there are worse ways to put your money in the political casino than betting on an incumbent with a recovering economy. If you believe truly that this economy is indeed recovering and interest rates will come down, then why wouldn't you bet on the incumbent? And I will say, I don't care who gets annoyed about it. Same way people got annoyed with me back in 2020. I will always defer to the incumbent. Now, maybe those old ways are dead. Maybe the old wisdom that I have grown up with is no longer the case. And maybe we are about to go for the next 5 cycles with one term. We're just going to keep turning it over. Maybe that'll be the case. But in general, I would say if you've got time, and look, we have yet to throw out our opening day pitch for the Major League Baseball season, and the World Series will be decided before we go vote. With that being said, the biggest problem for the Biden administration is that people don't trust their version of the story. Part of it's because they're not great at telling their version of the story. But look, the Biden administration never had a good explanation for inflation. They said it was transitory. It wasn't. They said it was Putin's price hike. There was more than that, right? Now they're on to greedflation and shrinkflation and it's the big greedy companies, right? Which is a very progressive way to take it. But it's not just leveling with the country and saying, look, we had to spend our way out of this pandemic because we shut down the economy. My predecessor and myself took extraordinary measures to safeguard the country medically. That meant that we did tremendous damage to our economy, and it was up to the federal government to stabilize it. We are experiencing inflation because of that and the supply chain issues that came from it. We will get through it together, and we will do whatever we can to make this as comfortable as we possibly can while we ride out this turbulence. There was never that, which is weird because you would have thought that is the kind of thing that the Biden administration would be good at. Just being center left, 5 degrees off the center. That's where Joe Biden lived. But there's this very weird thing that happens in politics in general, but I think it's more annoying when Democrats do it, which is like fighting with the media for framing. And it's more annoying when Democrats do it because usually Republicans have a point. Like there is a kind of comedy to, when a Republican screws up, the headline is Republican screws up. When a Democrat screws up, The headline is Republicans pounce on Democrat screw up? ? But it's like Democrats get a better shake with the media, and especially establishment Democrats. So it's like if you're fighting with the media, the question is what's going on? What are you doing? Like, do you really believe that if you had a better shake from the media, that things would be different? Is that really something you believe? Because if it is something that you believe, then I don't know what to say. Like, Ezra Klein came out and said that Joe Biden should probably not be the nominee. Then Ezra Klein wrote a column saying, "Oh, Biden's back" over the weekend because of his State of the Union. Does that mean that anything's changed? No. It means maybe the White House press team is like, well, Ezra was mad at us and now Ezra likes us. Who gives a shit? Not anybody who cares about inflation, not anybody who cares about the border. And this narrative problem for the Biden administration extends everywhere. They got nothing on the border except the Republicans killed a bipartisan bill. A bipartisan bill that, by the way, couldn't even pass the Senate, the Democratic-controlled Senate. Like, it doesn't exist. Right now, it doesn't exist. And we can say what we want. James Langford is really, really annoyed that all that happened. A white working class friend of mine says he's voting for Trump because Biden is more likely to get us into a war. He can't explain where he got the idea. Famous here on YouTube. Oh, no, that's Spin Dash. There we go. No. There we go. I'll take a wild guess where he got the idea. He got the idea because we're involved in 2 hot wars. And there are significant portions of, I mean, the State Department out and out says that the United States Congress controls the fate of Ukraine. So that's the official narrative from the State Department and the White House. And then there's a large portion of the progressive left that very much believes that the United States dictates the war in Israel. There's a reason why, people aren't out there in the streets saying, calling him genocide Netanyahu. They're calling him genocide Joe. I don't quite share that point of view that Joe Biden can snap his fingers and then all of a sudden Israel would not want, Sinwar of Hamas dead and would do anything to get it. But there are a lot of people who believe that. So if you believe that the United States controls both of those things, then yeah, Joe Biden controls the fact that there are 2 hot wars that we have large stakeholders, that we have large stakes in. And for all of his chaos, we did not have that with Trump. So I would combine that with the fact that Donald Trump was the first Republican to slam the Iraq War as the reason why he has, over the last 8 years, developed the reputation with his voters as somebody who is um, more of a dove than, let's say, somebody like Joe Biden. Iran with Trump was a fun moment. I mean, it's not like he didn't take action. We definitely bombed Syria. We definitely took out Qasem Soleimani in Iran, but it wasn't a sustained war. And really, it's like there are two things that Americans are allergic to post Iraq and Afghanistan. The one red line that we have yet to cross again is boots on the ground. The second that an American that goes from, Fort Bragg to some foreign outfit and is like on the front line somewhere, that's a line that we have not crossed since Iraq and Afghanistan. But the other is headlines about money. Hundreds of billions of dollars leaving America to go somewhere else. Voters are very wary of that. So we're building a port in Gaza, but we're not putting any boots on the grounds to do it. We're building a pier that will have access to Gaza. I mean, because you have a famine right now that is breaking out there in Gaza. Now that pier is not going to be built for another 2 months. So do not expect for that to happen immediately. Who knows how effective it's going to be? The Israelis say that they're all for it, but also it's not going to solve the problem, because the problem is not food getting into Gaza. The problem with Gaza, according to the Israeli perspective, is what it always has been, which is that Hamas takes the food. Hamas takes the food. Hamas takes the supplies. The people of Gaza are occupied by a Iranian and Qatari funded mob syndicate. You could charge them with RICO. And so it doesn't matter how many ports you build, Hamas is still going to take what is there. Happy Ramadan to all that celebrate. Obviously, that was a big part of negotiations for a ceasefire. I would encourage everybody to listen to my friend Manveen Rana's podcast from Jerusalem last week. She does the Stories of Our Times podcast that is from the Sunday Times and the Times of London. But she was in Jerusalem, where she's reported before. And if you want a sense of, I don't think that in her people that she interviewed, I don't think that there's a particularly well spoken argument for the Netanyahu government, but there is certainly a conversation about the opposition to the Netanyahu government, pro ceasefire Israelis, why they are pro ceasefire, and then Arab voices from within Israel and from the West Bank. And it is dire. Based on their own voices, it is dire. It's a dire situation. It's an angry situation. It is a situation that is built on a powder keg. But logistically, in terms of a ceasefire, the problem is this. You're not like the line between the IDF and the negotiators that are in Cairo is very small. The negotiators are speaking to the people in the IDF all the time, right? They can pick up the phone, call them at any moment. On the other side of that table, you're dealing with Hamas, which is essentially playing a game of telephone. You've got the street level commander, Sinwar, who's essentially Israel's Osama bin Laden. If they killed or captured Sinwar, we have a long way to resolving this. It's like the hostages and then Sinwar. That's pretty much, I think, the two biggest vectors of this. But that dude, is the one who, created and executed October 7th. So the Qatari contingent of Hamas, which essentially are leaders in exile, they can't make a deal that is too soft for Sinwar. Because we're talking about, we're getting down to the last bargaining chips for Sinwar. So it has to be something, and that's why you're talking about, 400 Palestinian prisoners for like 10, 12, 13 Israelis. But that's part of it, is that Hamas doesn't want to make a deal, or Hamas doesn't know what deal it can make because the people at the table aren't the people that are actually going to have to carry it out. This isn't a situation where the people in Qatar are going to catch a flight to Rafah and help, go through the check boxes of what was negotiated to. They can't. They don't. They won't. That's just not the situation that we're in. So for as much communication as exists between the ground level and the Qatari contingent, along with, people from Egypt and Qatar, like, we'll see. How long do you think the current Israel versus Palestine thing lasts? The current Israel versus Palestine thing. Well, I mean, we're coming up on the 100th anniversary, right? We're not too far away. We're only a couple decades away from 100 years of violence between Israel and its neighbors. So I'm gonna go ahead and say for the end of time, till the end of time. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say till the end of time. I think they are going to have a contentious fighting. The Middle East is a not exactly a forgive and forget area. Like, not a huge one. Yeah, till Jesus comes back. Yeah, there's the concept of diplomatic peace. The problem with the Palestinian cause is that nobody really gives a shit about them. The Arab world doesn't really give a shit about them. If the Palestinian cause was not shapen in a spear that could stab Jews, then nobody in the Arab world would particularly care about them. They're not a well-loved people regionally. It's a very sad situation. A very sad situation. Floating the idea for the Sunday PX3 Extra, maybe a Sports Center kind of award for best talking head of the week. Yeah, but then I would have to actually say that I like talking heads. Like, and also it would be the same like two people that I like every week. It would be Donna Brazil and it would be Margaret Brennan of Face the Nation. It's like I like the same people. I like Donna Brazil when she's playing cleanup. I like Donna Brazil when she's being confident. It's funny because I really can't stand the hosts on ABC's this week, but they by far have the best panel. Their panel of Donna Brazil and Sarah Isgur by themselves would be great. And they rotate in and out, I think, really smart and good voices. But Stephanopoulos, yuck. And the other guy, I don't like. Martha Raddatz is good. I like her, actually. But, CNN, Tapper and Dana Bash, it's just a formula we've seen a lot. So it's hard to find it interesting when those two are just on television all the time. So it's not like special. Well, then I'd actually have to watch the shows. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I would actually have to watch the shows, which I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch. I take the clips that they put out on social media. If they stopped putting out clips on social media, I would probably just figure out something else to do on Sundays. Because I am not going down for 6 hours of Sunday show watching. I love this shit, and I don't love it that much. I don't love it that much. The Megyn Kelly podcast is a trip. She's been fired by every major network. Well, did she get fired? I don't think she got fired from either network, but it was Fox and NBC. And I was like in that moment where it's like, oh, do we have room for never Trump people? Nope. Well, we don't. It's 6 hours of it. Does anyone actually know the status of the guy that Biden called an illegal immigrant? Was this a pending asylum claim? P. Guy Ton. So you're talking about the guy who is alleged. Let's be journalistically sound here. Is alleged by police to have murdered Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. And Joe Biden did not call him an illegal immigrant. He repeated Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that she was killed by an illegal. At which point, Biden just repeated her, said by an illegal. For those of you who are unaware, that is verboten on the left. I mean, how many signs do they need to put up? In this house, we believe no human is illegal. It's on the sign, Joe. It's on the sign. For the record, the more you look at that moment, the worse it comes off for Biden. Like, I saw some coverage of it. It's like, oh, he gave it back to MTG. It's like, number one, he had his entire State of the Union derailed by her heckling, which he took seriously. Number two, his argument when he said, oh, murder by an illegal, his response was, how many thousands of people are killed by legals? It's like, wait, what? How many people are killed by legals? Like, is the concept of murder between American citizens something that is a counterfactual to whether or not this guy should have been in America? It's a little what about Chicago for me. For me, it's a little what about Chicago. So I think what you wanted to get to, P-Ton guy, is what you just said here. There are differences, asylum claims versus trying to immigrate. So that is a good question, and I don't know the answer. So let's go ahead and search for it, huh? Let's be curious little critters. Let's say who. Yep. Me on screen. Who killed Laken Riley? Jose Ibarra. Was it Jose? Yeah. Jose Antonio Ibarra. Did Jose Antonio Ibarra claim asylum? Yeah, sure. Oh, by the way, this is a new laptop. My laptop died. We can do Tech Corner in a second. All right, so this is from the United States Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Georgia. This was at the end of February. Okay, but this is also not the person we're talking about. This is about Diego Ibarra. Oh, wait, hold on. All right. No, this is all right. An undocumented man residing in Athens, who is the brother of the suspect charged with murdering a woman on the University of Georgia's campus, was charged tonight by federal criminal complaint for possessing a fraudulent green card and is being held in state custody. Diego Ibarra, 28 of Venezuela, is charged by criminal complaint with possession of a fraudulent document. Ibarra's initial appearance has not yet been scheduled. If convicted, Ibarra faces a maximum of 10 years in prison. Diego Ibarra is the brother of Jose Antonio Ibarra, 26 of Venezuela, who is facing state charges for malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another in the death of Laken Hope Riley. According to the criminal complaint and sworn affidavit, Homeland Security investigators was made aware of Ibarra's undocumented presence in the United States on February 23rd. An Athens Clarke County Police Department officer approached Ibarra earlier today because he matched the description of a suspect in the homicide investigation. Ibarra presented the officer with a U.S. permanent resident card as identification. The card was determined to be fraudulent. Ibarra is a citizen of Venezuela and was processed for expedited removal, but claimed credible fear of return to Venezuela. He was consequently released from immigration custody pending adjudication of his claim for asylum. So we know that his brother claimed asylum. According to the criminal complaint and sworn affidavit, since entering the country, Ibarra has been arrested 3 times by Athens law enforcement. Let's take a look here. Suspect had been arrested. Okay, everyone just says unlawfully. ICE says he entered illegally. The suspect charged in the killing of nursing student Lagan Hope Riley was arrested after unlawfully entering the United States. Okay, so we know that he crossed in with his brother, and his brother claimed asylum. But we don't know if he claimed asylum. Well, that's that. I mean, to say that they crossed in illegally is kind of semantics. Like the old way of our thinking for an illegal crossing is that somebody is trying to sneak away from customs and border officials and hopes that they don't get caught. That's not the case now. You have people that cross into the United States and then seek ICE. They seek CPD or CPB so they can then claim asylum. And that's the big difference. The big difference is that with asylum, like at the early side, you're looking at 6 years before your case is heard. God knows what can happen in 6 years. Okay, so this guy lived with his brother. Jose Ibarra and Diego Ibarra lived with each other. Federal agents told Francisco they could not confirm when Jose Ibarra crossed the border and they could not verify his immigration status. So we don't know for sure. Yeah. So there we go. If your boy were to guess, if I were to guess, I would say he probably claimed asylum with his brother, but we don't know for sure. And who knows what pressure those kinds of records are under right now, because this is obviously a very politically charged case. And by the way, the song that I was singing from the former border chief, that's now what Biden says. It's what Biden was saying at the border. Like that is no longer something that is would be coded on one side. Joe Biden has said the problem is that we have an asylum backlog, and you have some of the worst people on the planet that are promising desperate people that for $8,000 you can come to America and you'll at the very least be able to stay for 6 years and probably more for $8,000. Now, the trip that you go on from there is truly hell. True hell. Like the worst shit on the planet. Yes, that happens there. If all you get is extorted, you made out like a bandit. Um, I don't think, I mean, again, this is like uh, the border and immigration are two different issues. They're related, but you don't fix one by fixing the other. You don't fix our immigration system by tightening up border security, and you don't fix border security by creating new pathways to legally enter. Because we're not looking at a lot of people that are looking to legally find a path. You're looking at a bunch of people that right now are paying $8,000 to take advantage of a loophole in the system that I don't think anybody really believes should be there. You don't fix border security without fixing immigration either. No, you can make border security better. They are related, but they are not direct. You don't fix one by fixing the other. That is my steadfast belief. And I'm for easier, better, more streamlined legal immigration. I am. I'm for that. I'm not one of the culture people. But the problem that exists, the antagonism on the border between like Border Patrol and ICE and stuff, is that you do have, you got cartels, you got bad hombres down on the border, and they are emboldened by this asylum thing. So this asylum thing can and should be fixed, and that would have nothing to do with legal paths to immigration. So right now we have our asylum system is backlogged. And if you cross into America and say, I am claiming asylum, you are allowed to stay in America. You do not have to go to another country, to your home country, to Mexico, to somewhere else in Central America. You don't have to do it. You can stay in America, which is essentially being given a legal runway to be in America for 6 to 8 years. And so with those ingredients, that's where, according to the President of the United States, that's the product that is being sold to people by coyotes and cartels. Come to America for $8,000. You'll be able to stay at least for 6 years. Have you checked out Claude, the new Claude and Pi AI? No, I have not, but I will. Thank you for recommending it. Isn't a key factor for international asylum law that you have to seek it in the first safe country you get to? Why is this not getting attention? Because we don't actually, I mean, our political calculus on this has been so off base for so long that I think people have a hard time wrapping their heads around the nuance of it. Because anybody who's given a shit about the border for the last 2 decades has been a racist, according to our calculus. And so if you are impugning the motives of people who want to come to America, you're anti-immigrant and you're probably a racist. So those are good questions that you need to claim asylum from the first safe country that you get to. The problem with all these countries is they don't want these people either. Yeah, Panama and Mexico are pretty safe. Yeah. But also that's not the product that they're selling. They're not selling a trip to Panama and Mexico. Yeah, we're doing gangbusters on old X, huh? We're doing gangbusters. Hello, X friends. Mwah. I don't know how many of you are real. You know, sometimes the like non-Twitch, non-YouTube streaming platforms, it's kind of like whose line is it anyway, where the points don't matter. But hell, let's try this out. Let's take calls. What happened to the unified chat feed? Well, we have it right here. I can see it. The only thing is, like, I don't know. Do you guys want? I mean, if there's something that really matters, I can throw the chat up there. But mostly, it's like I don't know. I can highlight stuff that's there. I can see everybody though. I can see all the stuff from X. I can see all the stuff from Twitch and YouTube. Half Big Thought, Texas is performing quote unquote illegal busing of immigrants to other states as a form of political protest. How is this similar or different to people performing illegal protests? Well, there are questions of exactly if the buses are going to places that the asylum seekers, largely asylum seekers, don't want to go to. Is that illegal? Question. And then what is the basic level of coordination between states and cities for these transmissions, right? That's really what the issue from the cities. The cities are upset that Texas is not telling them that these buses are coming in. At the same time, they are actively trying to make the buses not come in. All right. We will do calls. I got to download Skype. My old thing just died. My old laptop. I took it to the Mac store. That's why I wasn't on Weird Things on Friday. I fried the IO board. So the problem, if anybody was watching me on DTNS on Thursday, is that my charger was not charging because I had one of them laptops that did not have the MagSafe anymore. Everything was run on USB-C. So all of a sudden, when my IO board fried, it would not take power. So I'm gonna get that fixed at the Mac store soon. So I will have that PC, which I'll figure out something that I want to do with. But in the meantime, I was able to get it about 10% charged at the Mac store for whatever reason. When it booted up in Apple config that was being plugged into it, it did start charging. So I literally just let it charge for about 20 minutes. It got me a 10% charge. And so now I have it for when I need to upload stuff. But while I was at the Apple store, I did throw pretty much everything that I needed in terms of the politics podcast assets up there. Oh, I immediately bought a new laptop. I see you. I was due for one though. I was due for one. I put a lot of wear and tear on that laptop. Like the battery was starting to go a little bit and uh that was the first Dog and Pony Show laptop. May we inquire? The job search is for Ash. We have a brother in the same situation. Um, Boy, the job search was really, really, really close to being done, and then some funny business happened. But it is ongoing. It is ongoing. There's boy, man, we were real close. We were really, 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 really close. But still, we sally forth. Um, is Ashley looking to do video stuff? Uh, she actually has a project. Um, that she might be doing more social media stuff than she's done before. But I will let her lay that out. All right. Go ahead and give us a call. 510-404-8030. Again, that is 510-404-8030. Right on time. Mr. Merrill Barr, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. And everyone else can too. Very exciting. What's going on?
Hooray. Simplest Skype setup ever.
I know.
Prediction. Dwayne Johnson's going to have an Oscar nomination before John Cena.
Okay.
And I
everything I was talking about, immigration, Palestine, Israel, all the other takes of the Oscars. It's the first thing that I said, that John Cena has more range than The Rock, and John Cena would be more likely to get an Oscar nomination than The Rock. That's what you come in hot with.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to talk about do you want to talk more about immigration? Because I don't think
Fill out your Rock point. Why
number one, did you ever see Pain and Gain?
No.
Oh, buddy, you're missing out on one of the greatest Dwayne Johnson performances ever in that movie.
Okay.
And he should have gotten a supporting actor nomination for that movie. Two, his next movie is a Safdie movie. That, I mean, if anyone's going to get an A24 movie on top of that, so if anyone's going to get him a nomination just by the politics of Hollywood, it's going to be the Safdies via A24.
I mean, but sometimes those A24s, they're good for cred, but like Beau is Afraid was probably their biggest one this year, and they didn't get shit.
I think A24 is gearing up.
A24's big thing was fucking Iron Claw. Didn't get shit.
Yeah, the lack of anything for Iron Claw anywhere really like blew me away a little bit, because at the very least I thought that Zac Efron would get something because he's so good in that movie.
And he got jacked for it. Like that wasn't like superhero jacked. That was like crazy, like full body transformation jacked.
Yeah, no, yeah, like it's wild how different he looks. Just because again, I told you last week I watched Parkland, the JFK movie, and he plays the doctor that tries to save JFK in that movie. And watching the juxtaposition of those two characters, those versions of Zac Efron, is crazy.
So hold on, let me just make this clear. Your pitch is that, number one, The Rock should have gotten a Best Supporting Actor nomination for the Academy Awards because he was really good in a Michael Bay movie.
It's that. Okay, yes, but it's not that movie is like.
Was it directed by Michael Bay?
It was directed by Michael Bay.
Okay. Is he historically recognized at the Oscars in anything other than sound design and special effects?
That was supposed to be his breakout. I'm gonna do cool shit.
And was it?
It was. It was, but people will never get over the Michael Bayism of it.
Oh, okay. So there we go.
But it doesn't change the fact that he should have gotten a nomination.
According to Merrill. According to the Academy of Merrills.
But I do think that we'll see what what's it called? Smashing Machine. We'll see what Smashing Machine, looks like when it comes out next year.
Look, this is not me shitting on The Rock, for the record. I think The Rock is great. And I
think John Cena. I think you're right. John Cena will likely have a nomination one day. I just think Rock's going to get it first.
Okay. Again, I don't quite know why you are that sure about it, but my larger point was that I do think that John Cena has more range than The Rock. The Rock, when The Rock does funny, he has to do funny in kind of an ironic way, where John Cena can just play a funny character in a way that The Rock can.
You definitely need to watch Pain and Gain, because Pain and Gain is the one time where he's not doing. It's the one time he's not doing ironic comedy.
Okay,
he's doing comedy.
Well, it's not to say that I think that he can't. It's that if he were naturally good at it, he'd do it more.
I think he doesn't. I think he wants to be a generic action star. He wants to be Schwarzenegger, right?
But Schwarzenegger did comedy. Schwarzenegger was on stage last night with Danny DeVito.
I know. But I think Rock wants to be the generic action star, and I think Cena doesn't care. Cena just wants to be in movies. And so Cena doesn't really care what he's being given as long as he's being given something cool.
I think the ideal world is that you can do action on alongside other stuff. The biggest, I mean, number one, everything's kind of changed since we sort of lowered our thresholds on who our action stars were going to be. They didn't all need to be muscle men anymore. We were like, oh no, we want to see a Liam Neeson one. We want to see, hey, Bill and Ted, we want to see that guy as an absolute action star. And the movies were good.
That reminds me, because you had mentioned this. I finally watched The Beekeeper. Have you seen The Beekeeper yet?
No, I did. We did the full plot from Brian.
Because your take at the time was, all these guys, Neeson and Keanu, they're all basically doing Statham movies. So why don't we just give one of these to Statham?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so stupid, but it's so good. It's a good movie.
It is funny though that it's like it was, so much of that genre was like, oh well, let's do a transporter story, but we'll do it with an odd casting, right? We'll do it with Liam Neeson, with Keanu, with Bob Odenkirk, right? Like that's the twist, and then it's like, or I don't know, let's just do another one we'll do another one with Statham.
Who, by the way, the level to which that man can still absolutely bring it is shocking. He's at that age now where he would be old enough to do his Taken, right? Because he would have been at the age Liam did it when Liam did Taken, but he's still just delivering it like he's 30. It's wild.
Well, also he's a small guy, right?
I mean,
and he's small.
He can kick my ass.
Well, I'm not saying he's not a fucking badass. I'm just saying that, like,
he is a small. He is more athletically toned. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was what triggered me was that because I'm remembering how you compared Taken to Beekeeper. Sorry for cutting you off.
No. Yeah. That's
But yeah, no.
Any other Oscar thoughts? Any thoughts on the Oscars? You are the closest thing that we get to our Hollywood correspondent.
I'll leave on this. You should watch the opening monologue because I am pretty sure Robert Downey Jr. wanted to punch Jimmy Kimmel in the face. Robert Downey Jr. famously will walk out of interviews if his past drug use is brought up. I think it was a BBC guy. The infamous video where they were doing the press tour for the second Avengers movie, and then he walked out like so. Kimmel's the joke was, wow, Robert Downey Jr. being nominated for his third Oscar, a real high point of his career. ... Well, one of the high points of his career, and then it cuts to Downey, and Downey's doing the okay, let's wrap it up, dude, like motion, and he does the tap of the nose thing. Like, it was really weird and awkward, and he really did not enjoy it. It was very clear.
Kind of a bad joke too. Like that's an easy joke.
Yeah.
There's not I mean, it's like, we're kind of we sort of very, very well trod the redemption arc for Robert Downey, right? It's like we all kind of know, and also he owned up to it, right? Like it's not like he hasn't been forthcoming. It's not like he's like, no, I suffer in silence. He's spoken about it in the past. I think he just wants to be able to have a world past it.
Yeah. So, and I agree. So yeah, it was just a bad joke, but it was a really awkward moment that I'd be curious to know how the after party went.
So people are calling you a mark in the chat that you're buying into.
No, I don't. Because I don't think that was run by Downey, because if it was run by Downey, Downey would never ever have allowed that. Downey does not play games when it comes to that topic.
Yeah. The Rock is really protective of his bloodline. He doesn't want the Cody Crybabies to step on what would be a big money WrestleMania. I mean, like, I don't know. That seems, especially because the joke wasn't particularly, it wasn't like naming a specific incident or naming a victim or something or something.
The BBC
ugly.
guy didn't name a specific incident either, and he walked out of that interview.
Yeah, but that's in the middle of a fucking press thing where actors want to walk out if it's going well. Actors don't want to do those ever. And
I mean, ask Dakota Johnson.
Yeah. So wait, there's nothing else? I thought it was a good show. The part that I saw, like normally, like I'll put on the Oscars. We were folding laundry and shit. I just got done with a walk. So I'm like, oh, okay, we'll watch the rest of the Oscars. But I thought it was going to be kind of, background entertainment. But I was like glued from the John Mulaney thing through the end. I thought that was, and normally that shit's boring.
Oh, well, we can't get to this, by the way. Everyone wants John Mulaney to host next year. What do you think?
You could do worse.
I'd be game for a John Mulaney. I'd be game for a John Mulaney hosting. See how that goes.
I mean, I think the reality, the host is somebody that it's like you need to have somebody that owns the stage so things move. But other than that, the stuff I was the most impressed by was the just the production and the direction. Like for both best picture best actor and best actress, they had 5 former winners sing the praises, right?
They did that for best supporting in the beginning too, the part you missed.
Yeah, but it's like the fact that they kept it at a split screen, they didn't cut back and forth. They kept it at a split screen, so you saw the people that were being praised, react to it, and you could also tell which ones actually like each other, and also which ones saw the movie, because there was when Annette Bening was having her Hosanna sung by Charlize Theron. Boy, did it seem like Charlize Theron didn't see the movie. And Annette Bening was like, okay, thank you. I'm a legend. Moving on.
My favorite was the Nicolas Cage to Paul Giamatti one. A self-aware Nicolas Cage will always be my favorite Nicolas Cage. And his bit about like, would I wear the contact to get myself? Yes, I would. But you didn't.
Yeah, so, for those of you who did not see, apparently Paul Giamatti in his role for the Holdovers, the character's supposed to have a lazy eye, so he wore one contact that essentially made him blind in one eye and would have it kind of drift in a weird way through the entire thing. So he half blinded himself for the entire shoot. And Nicolas Cage is telling the story, which is great just to hear Nicolas Cage tell it, because when Nicolas Cage is telling you a cool thing that happened, you believe it because he's Nicolas Cage. And that was the punchline was he gets to the end where he's like, would I do it? Hell yeah, I'd do it, but you did it first. And like that was one where it was like, it was really cool because Giamatti was obviously very tickled and very flattered, and that felt good. It felt real. And like, that's what you want. That's what you want in the Oscars, as the celebrity, the galaxy of stars is swirling around you.
Were you also worried at the end there when they announced Best Picture that Al Pacino fucked it up? Because that was a weird reading of that, of that card. I was like, is he drunk?
I retweeted Boots Riley, Pacino drunk as fuck.
All right, I'm gonna go on there. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, man. All right, see you. No, yeah. The only reason why it wasn't a shock is that it was kind of fait accompli that Oppenheimer was going to win Best Picture. That was just kind of understood. At the end of the day, wasn't it Hollywood praising Hollywood? It was, but here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, the Oscars are good when you've seen the movies, because everybody has opinions on the movies. And you can say, oh, well, I don't know. I thought Oppenheimer was good. I thought Barbie was good. I thought that oh, damn it. What's the Jeffrey Wright movie that I saw? Jeffrey Wright movie Oscar. American Fiction. I liked American Fiction. I liked American Fiction a lot. I'm looking forward to Cord Jefferson's next movie. I think he is a very, very special. He is a talent, and American Fiction reminded me of a 90s kind of like Miramax movie where it's good, it's got a point of view, but it's got flaws that are worth talking about. Who was the other people? All right. You guys want to hear my 3 months late American Fiction thoughts? I just want to make sure I get all the names here right. Okay. So I'm going to do some spoilers for American Fiction. If you're not familiar with the premise of American Fiction, Jeffrey Wright plays a author and professor who is very frustrated because he is unable to get traction for his books. Common issue with authors. And he writes these very heady, mythologically driven books. And he becomes very frustrated when he looks at, a very celebrated Black female author who, in his mind, is writing absolute parody of the Black experience, pablum, that he does not respect. And so there's machinations in the plot. I will say that Wright's chemistry with Tracee Ellis Ross is electric, and it doesn't last all that long for plot machinations, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, Jesus, like these two together are just fireworks on screen. You wind up spending a lot of time with his family, and ultimately this is a movie about him and his family more than the central plot motivator, which is he writes a parody essentially of these kinds of books, and it becomes extraordinarily successful. So this is where it's interesting. It's interesting to have these kind of conversations because the story very much is about the family. And so you spend a lot of time with the brother, Sterling K. Brown, with all due respect to his acting ability and his abs, is great in other things, but he didn't really have a lot to do in this movie. His character didn't, aside from kind of one monologue at the end. Whereas I found myself far more fascinated with questions about the book that he wrote. There is probably my favorite scene in the movie where he is drunk and writing this parody. And it is brilliantly exhibited by characters that he is writing that are arguing with him and he is talking to like he's kind of stage directing them. The best being Keith David, who's a legend. You really can't put Keith David in something that I'm not going to like. He's amazing. The book has to have certain changes to it. And so it's like, I kind of kept waiting for that to be more of a runner. that he would keep interacting with these characters and maybe the characters would push back on him, but it was such a great metaphor for creativity that I was kind of hoping that that would be more of a thing, that we would go out to the real world and then he'd come back to this world where he has this very conflicted relationship with his own work. The other big question that I thought was sort of left on the table is the book really good? Because spoiler alert, mild spoiler alert, the book not only experiences commercial success, it begins to experience critical success. Something that is also eluded our main character. So, is the book really good? Or are these characters that are telling us that it's good, these critics, are they compromised? And if so, how does that make our main character feel about them? Those were elements that, again, I don't think that they didn't ruin the movie for me or anything, but they were questions that I had that I would have loved to see explored. But, you know. Weird to assume that the book is good as the main character is a good writer, but also he's intentionally trying to write bad. So it's like, did he find another gear in his writing by trying to dumb it down? Are we to assume that even with him intentionally hobbling himself in his mind, has he become a better writer? I guess that's the question. Does he become a better writer at the end of this? Or is this just him writing because he intentionally keeps trying to make the book terrible? So those were my thoughts about American Fiction. That being said, Jeffrey Wright, good Lord. I mean, a guy he's a home run machine. You know, he gets the bat on the ball and it's in the parking lot. Guy's a dynamo. He's amazing. The cast is fantastic. I think it is. The movie ultimately has this kind of arm's length relationship with the parody elements of it, the swirl of white executives around this work of quote unquote authentic blackness. Those are probably the funniest moments of the movie. But we never spend a ton of time there because we're always getting back to the family. It made me think of Bamboozled, where they're parodying blackface and it becomes popular. Yeah, I mean, there's a genre for this. Bamboozled, certainly part of it. American or Hollywood Hustle. It's in Hollywood Shuffle. Yeah, he's more of a writer for hire by the way that the movie ends. Yeah, well, I mean, again, they kind of do. I was not in love with the ending. I think when you're telling a story that personal, you kind of got to pick a lane and gun it, because we care about the characters, especially if you're going through the version of it where they spend so much time with the family. You kind of to remove it into a multiversal ending. So I guess I'm kind of spoiling that. But we do kind of a Wayne's World ending. But again, you know, I like the movie. Oppenheimer was my favorite of the year, though. Oppenheimer was my favorite of the year. I thought it was great. I thought it was, you know, the Christopher Nolan movies that I tend to like the least are the ones that I need to read the most Wikipedia words about so I can understand what the hell they meant. I'm looking at you, Tenet and Interstellar. The ones that I like the best are the ones where the tension is wrapped into these sort of complicated things. For my money, I don't know if he's done a better movie than oh damn it. Now my brain is dissolving. The Dreams one. Which one's the Dreams one? Inception. Inception to me is probably the best movie that he's done. Mostly because it takes a high concept fantasy sci-fi premise and then tells a pretty straight ahead, we're putting a crew together because we have the heist of the century. But it's all in that, you know, Batman kind of or sorry, James Bond sort of view. But yeah, I don't know. I thought the rules were great. I understood enough to make it fun. Which again, with Interstellar and Tenet, I often was trying to understand these incredibly crafted scenes, but I kind of feel stupid because I'm like, wait, what? What happened? Why is he in the cupboard? Did he go into the black hole? Led him to the cupboard? What? Why is the guy with the painting, this Twilight guy, no Black Klansman now? Or did they? I don't know. Oh, Prestige is amazing. Prestige is great. But Oppenheimer, I thought was fantastic. Oppenheimer, to me, you know, told its story exceptionally well. It was really, really, really buffeted by the cast. The cast just crushed it. And ultimately, like, you know, they succeeded in Christopher Nolan kind of has that, you know, you get like your normal movie and then you get a bonus Nolan act, right? It's like, okay, well, we wrapped this up. Or did we? Nope. You got a whole nother 45 minutes. Let's go. But the Oppenheimer version of it, you know, you kind of settle into what is essentially plays as a courtroom drama. And you find out that the movie is about J. Robert Oppenheimer's reputation on trial, as the American government or elements of the American government are looking to jettison J. Robert Oppenheimer. Because the tide has sort of, you know, found him to be more cumbersome than advantageous for whatever he did, no matter how tremendous of an scientific achievement that he was directed to do and did successfully. And it's like, oh, shit, that's really good. The Cocaine Bear should have hosted the Oscars. Let's salute. Let's salute. Even the In Memoriam last night was really good. Like they had like a really good performance, and it wasn't just canned music. It wasn't just orchestral music. It was a performance of do 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 da 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 da, like whatever that is. Hey, we actually have a political question here. Despite Trump's popular support among Republican voters, it seems like fewer Republicans are going out to vote this primary than in 2016. Tennessee had about 25% less turnout, and Texas had 20% less, a whole 500,000 less voters. Do you think that's a sign of Trump's weakness? No, I don't. That comparison specifically, you're comparing that to a very competitive primary in 2016, where Donald Trump's 1v1 competitor was the senator from Texas. So I don't think that that's a particularly salient case. And if you look at what he has done in the contests that were considered the most competitive, like the fact that he put the numbers up that he put up in Iowa when it was, and I was there, surface of Mars, Cormac McCarthy, existential cold. Like not cold for Iowa. It was my pickup truck won't start because my battery won't turn over. Actual thing I heard while I was in Des Moines. The fact that he did that shows a lot of enthusiasm. And if you look at polling, Republicans are far more enthusiastic than Biden, which if we are going to do relevant comparisons, then you have to compare, if we're going 2016, what is Donald Trump's support now versus 2016, and what is Biden's support relative to, let's say, Hillary Clinton in 2016. And I think all those metrics, at least from what we see right now, are favorable to Trump. Orban meeting Trump at Mar-a-Lago, bringing messages from the Kremlin. C-SPAN, I didn't know that was that you were Adam Schiff's handle. Congratulations, Senator-elect Schiff. Are we doing the secret Russia thing? Thoughts on the rumored VP shortlist of Britt, Rubio, and DeSantis? No, no, and no. I think Katie Britt has a strong future in front of her. The fact that she was such a focal point of Democratic chatter in the State of the Union aftermath, I think was, number one, not a great sign for Joe Biden. The Democrats wanted to talk about Katie Britt more than they wanted to talk about Joe Biden's performance. And number two, showed that, whatever she's doing, she draws a crowd. If you draw a crowd, you have power in this bizarre modern political world. But Donald Trump is probably not going to go with the Floridian. I don't know the exact rules on, two people on a ticket can't come from the same state, but all three of them are from Florida: Trump, Rubio, and DeSantis. I don't believe that the DeSantis camp and the Trump camp have mended fences. If there is a fence mending in the future, I would say, DeSantis being attorney general or something like that might be a better fit. I still think it is probably a woman who can talk to the suburbs. Okay. All right. Good, good, good. I see you. Normally he points out that I like to say that things are bad. It didn't stink. I really liked American Fiction. I liked American Fiction. I like talking about movies. I just like talking about them. Trump did just post a $91 million bond. Yeah, where is the most famous person in the world going to get $91 million? Where's the most famous person on earth going to get $91 million? Man, who knows? Who knows? Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about Russ. We can talk about Russ. I've been doing high knees throughout my house since the Steelers have signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year contract. I like it. I think the biggest downside is that you are really putting a lot of pressure on Kenny Pickett. But then again, this is about the time that Kenny Pickett's got to face a lot of pressure. If I don't want Russ to cook, let Russ make sandwiches. I'm into it. If Russell Wilson is just going to hand off to Najee Harris, hand off to Jaylen Warren, hit more consistent, because we'll actually have a OC that calls these plays, hit more consistent play action. Awesome. I think he very much can do that. If you think that he's the guy that he was 6 years ago, I think you're in trouble. But if you want him to be Kenny Pickett plus, I think he can be Kenny Pickett plus. We'll see whether or not Kenny steps his game up. I actually think if you're looking for comps for Kenny's game, Russell Wilson's not a bad person to look at to try to evolve into. So no screenplays near the end. So he actually had a really good red zone percentage last year. Now, a lot of those Russell Wilson stats, I think, were also because the Broncos were getting blown out a lot. So I don't know exactly how to take, like, there was like, oh, Russell Wilson threw more touchdowns last year than Kenny Pickett started in his career, which is true. But I do think that they're at different points. Yeah, good. Just making sure all of our episodes are up. All right. Veep doesn't seem far off anymore. I was once joking with when all the prime minister shit was going down in the UK a couple years ago. The like Liz Truss, Boris Johnson, blah, 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 blah. The shuffle. I was joking with people that I know that work in British politics that it's like, oh, this is like the thick of it, which was the British version of Veep before they did Veep. And he's like, you want to know what the difference between real politics in Britain and the thick of it is? I'm like, what? He's like, in the thick of it, people aren't constantly saying, oh my God, this is just like the thick of it. Anyway, all right, we're gonna wrap that up here today on the show this week. We'll have Tom Merritt. He's gonna talk TikTok ban, and then I got a few irons in the fire for the Friday show, but I think we're about ready to start promoting the YouTube like it's a real thing. For the first time ever, we had essentially a full video version of the podcast on YouTube. That was the State of the Union episode, which I kind of fucked up because I put on background noise canceling, so it made the speech sound very quiet, but at least you could understand everything that Joe Biden was saying. But yeah, I wanted to figure it out, but I'll tell you what, Riverside, good God, an amazing website, an amazing tool, riverside.fm. They have made it very easy to put all this stuff together. Okay, that's it. That's it for me. That's it for us. I love all of you. Until next time, this is your old pal Justin Robert Young saying, see ya.